All right, I think we're live. Hey, everybody, this is Cameron. Welcome to another fun live David Lynch Twin Peaks auction discussion. I'm here with John Thorne. You know, this is something that he wanted to bring up on the last video, but I hit stop before he could get it out. So we talked about it after the fact.
Sorry about that. That's me. Sorry about that.
He said, or John said after we recorded last time, hey, do you want to come back after the auction concludes and we can talk about what some of these things have been selling for? I said, that's a great idea. So here we are. There is one auction that is for tomorrow, and I think it's John's favorite thing that's being auctioned off. So would you like to tell us a little about that?
Yeah, tomorrow they're auctioning Julian's. The same auction company is auctioning the original piece of art that David Lynch did, the map that David Lynch did of Twin Peaks, the town. You see the lake, and you see the mountains, and you see the town. It's an original charcoal piece that Lynch did. For me, I think it's probably the most interesting item that's from these two auctions. And it's currently at, I think the last time I checked, which was hours ago, it was at $50,000, which is a lot of money. But compared to what some of the things sold for today, it's a steal. So, and if I had some of the money that people were spending on scripts and just, items, and I could transfer that over to this original art. I mean, it's a piece of David Lynch original art. Maybe that will happen tomorrow. We'll find out. We'll all know this time tomorrow whether or not it sold for big money. Yeah, that to me is the real prize. So
I think when we did our last show, I think it was already at 20-something thousand. So for it to be at 50, it hasn't grown all that much, because you kind of predicted that you think it's probably going to sell for 100,000.
Yeah, and I'm surprised it's not there yet. But then I look at what happened today, and I'm thinking, if this piece of art had been in this auction, I mean, it would have been probably one of the highest, the highest bid on, the highest priced items. Yeah, we'll see.
Well, okay. Well, let's take a look at some pictures that you posted online from your friend Nick that was there. Here are some of the scripts. Obviously, they're behind glass. Let's see here. One of David Lynch's cameras. Here's is this the same director's chair that was at Bob's Big Boy the other day?
Yes.
So it's on tour.
Yes.
Okay. And this chair, I think, sold for 70,000.
Yeah.
So if this goes for 70,000, just imagine what that charcoal drawing should go for.
Yeah.
And then here is
this has got that funky phone that was from Dune.
Okay.
It says the David Lynch Hold the Phone kit. So I thought that was interesting. He sent other pictures I didn't post, some more of the same. But
is that the prop that he's like in the scene with? Like,
I don't know. You would think they would have perhaps mentioned that in the description. I don't know.
Well, I mentioned the Bob's Big Boy. So yesterday, or maybe the day before, in Burbank, California, at the Bob's Big Boy, the famous one that Lynch would go to every day at 2:30, they had the director's chair there. And then this is a picture from Scott Ryan. Hopefully he's okay with me showing this. But here is the milkshake. I was like, I posted to Scott, did you fly there just for the milkshake?
Yeah, I think he was there for other reasons, and it was just luck that he happened to go to the Bob's Big Boy and see the chair, and then they had those milkshakes.
Because I was going to say, if Scott flew there just to see the chair and the milkshake, then I really need to step up my game, since I only live 5 hours north of that area.
You go. Yeah.
All right, so let's take a look at the auction today. Now we're gonna not talk about every item, but just kind of go over the highlights. So, John, why don't you kind of take it away? As you can see here, everybody, I mean, the Log Lady mugs going for nearly 12, or went for nearly 12,000. The espresso machine went for 45,000.
Yeah, so let me just jump in and say I believe these prices that we're seeing here include the well, we'll find out when we get down to the wrapped in plastics, but I think they include the buyer's premiums and whatever like online fees that were tagged on to the final bid price. So this is, I believe, the price that whoever won the auction is going to have to pay. The actual auctions, the final bids might have been less because they didn't account for the buyer's premiums and all that, which was 27% on top of whatever the final bid was. So just to let people know, I believe these are the numbers. This is what the final numbers. So
I'm shocked these Winkies menus didn't go for at least 10.
Yeah. And again, you know what? I wonder. Well, I'll know when we get to the wrap.
I mean, look at this. The Ronnie Rocket script went for nearly 200,000.
Yeah. Now, so I got a couple of thoughts, if you don't mind me jumping in here.
Absolutely.
These are the first lots that went up for auction. They went up for auction around 10 a.m. Pacific time. And I think there was sort of an excitement that had built up. There was sort of a frenzy, or I don't know if frenzy is the right word, but there was certainly, a lot of energy in the air. And I think if some of these items perhaps were later in the day, because it went for like 8 hours, they might not have, it's just a theory. They might not have garnered this kind of, bidding. I could be totally wrong. It just seems some of these, when these were coming out at the beginning and I was seeing, I was stunned, just stunned. Right. I mean, I believe the Ronnie Rocket script is available online. You could get it.
It depends on which draft this is.
Now, this does say annotated, and I can understand if these are annotations that Lynch made in the margins. I mean, that is a pretty amazing item. So I understand why it would go up. But anyway, I mean, still, bottom line is $200,000 for the script.
Right. Oh, so, okay. So, yeah. So the chairs sold for 70,000, but here it says 91,000. So
that's going to be then all those extra fees that have been tagged on.
Right. So $21,000 extra added on to that.
Right. From the 70, the final bid.
Inland Empire poster, 13,000. I mean, this one right over here for 3,600. I mean, that is a steal compared to these other things. Wow. I mean, just I will say that this was a huge success.
I can't imagine that they're unhappy. I mean, these are the family or whoever the estate. They made some good money on these items, and I'm sure that there's fans who bid on some of this who are happy. They got the items they wanted, and so. It is what it is. A couple of other notes. My friend, these are all from my friend Nick, who went. He said that the auction was fairly sparsely attended for the actual in-person bidders. He said there were about 25 people there to begin with in a relatively big room, and some of those people trickled out. And I can tell you that there was a cast member there as well. I think actually it's out. I think I can say who it was. It was George Griffith, who played Ray Monroe in The Return. He was there briefly. So
watching or bidding?
He was bidding, and I as far as I know, that part of it has not been. I will tell you, he didn't win anything.
Well, I didn't win.
He wanted to get a memento, and he had something in mind. But he was just stunned at how high the prices went.
Well, I mean, I was outbid the first day, so you know,
Yeah.
don't worry about it, George.
Yeah.
But yeah, really huge prices. 30,000 for his camera. And I saw today online that Dougpa made a note that he believes that the Fire Walk With Me script was also annotated, which is really cool.
Yeah, and I mean, he's certainly someone who would know, or has some inside info, because he is the person who helped produce The Missing Pieces, and he actually worked with Lynch, so he was aware of what was cut from the film and what maybe some scenes that were scripted or not shot, or shot and not scripted, and so it's very possible that he encountered that actual Fire Walk With Me script when he was visiting with Lynch. Again, I don't know, but if he's saying it, I would certainly trust his opinion. He would know. So, I think that script ended up going for 70 in the final bid, and then maybe then it'd be more with the fees.
So let me just quote him.
Okay.
Hopeful. He's talking about the Dream of the Bovine script and the Ronnie Rocket annotated script. He says, hopefully these two will be released to the masses. The other gem was the annotated line script to Fire Walk With Me. Some lucky soul has the evidence of everything that was filmed, including things unscripted and scenes not found when we did The Missing Pieces.
Yeah, then he knows. He knows. And so that is a grail item. I would say to have that, especially if it's Lynch annotations, or even if it's not, if it's Lynch dictating to someone who's writing it down, that's a pretty cool thing to have. And I agree with him. It would be nice. And I don't know what the legalities of it would be, but if somebody wanted to release that somehow and charge for it, I think we would all want to see that.
Yes, I'm all for them scanning it into a PDF and letting us see it.
Yeah. Maybe they're listening. If you're out there and you've got it, send us a text.
John, I got to tell you that you never know who's watching these shows, because I get emails from people with rather large followings from other areas of the entertainment world, and they go, "We love your show. We love your channel." So yes, if you were one of those people, let us know, please.
Excellent.
One of David Lynch's guitars here, 39,000. Wow. It's just I said online, John, I said I need to meet some of these rich David Lynch fans. So.
Right. I know. Yeah, some pretty cool. There's the phone that we saw the picture of earlier, and that went for
13,000. Now here is some Isabella Rossellini books. Just want to say today is Isabella Rossellini's birthday, so happy birthday to her.
Yeah.
and
here we get into some interesting items. I mean, the records.
I do like the Roy Orbison record. I think that's a classy one to have. But 6,000 is I mean, it says estimate value 400 to 600. It went for almost 6,000.
Right. Okay, yeah.
Almost 10,000 for the Wild at Heart poster, and it's not even autographed.
Well, you know what? 11,000 for the Clockwork Orange poster. I mean, wow is right. Yeah. Here we go.
Here we go. 91,000 for the Northwest Passage script.
Yeah, a good chunk of money there. I don't know if it differs from all the copies we've got. A bit surprised that the Crew denim shirt didn't go higher. I mean, not that isn't a huge amount of money for the shirt, but you see some of these other things going for huge amounts of money, and this is, I think, a collector's item. So.
Yeah. Like
the
Deer Meadow patch, a decal prop, 22,000.
And there is the Twin Peaks Fire Walk With Me scripts, $78,000, and that would be the final price.
Look at this picture here. Oh my goodness! Look at the notes inside of it.
Yeah.
I can't zoom in anymore.
That is a really cool item. There's no
Oh
question
my.
about it.
Yeah,
Probably the coolest item, the most desirable item we've hit so far, I think.
yeah. I mean, there's no way I could have ever even come close to affording this, but
Right.
okay. Whoever bought this item, there are a bunch of us out here that will gladly chip in some money
Just to get a peek.
just to get a peek, a PDF maybe of every other page. Yeah, that's incredible. Look at the scene list and the shots, and oh my, wow.
Yeah.
See, I mean, obviously we don't have evidence if the other scripts were like this, but yeah, this is so far to me, this is Holy Grail material.
Yep. I'd say big deal.
Wow. Okay. Let's go back. Yeah, 78,000 starting bid 100. Wow. Okay. My Cannes Film Festival Wyndham Earl briefcase went for 16,000.
Yes, indeed. Yeah.
I thought that would have gone for more because there's actual pictures of him carrying it, so
yeah.
45,000 for the atom bomb picture.
Yeah, that was sort of exciting to watch. I watched these auctions here that we're looking at right now, starting up above, like around the Wild at Heart poster. I was watching all of these live. I was making my lunch and I was listening carefully, and because I knew the Wrapped in Plastics were coming up. And I was real curious because this batch of items, I think, is some really interesting stuff. And
the sheriff department lamp going for 26,000. Here we go. Here's your Wrapped in Plastic, 58.50.
And that is the final price with all the extra fees. I don't know who bought it out there, and I don't know if they're listening, but I hope you enjoy those issues. It's only 19 issues.
John, will you do a complimentary autograph for the person who bought these?
Of course, I would be happy to do that. But well, I don't know what to say about it. It's amazing to me that these would garner that kind of money. And if anyone wants the same 19 issues for a lot cheaper, maybe we can work something out. So.
Now, what do you think about? To me, this is another Holy Grail in a way. The Lynch Frost walkie-talkies. That's a pretty cool thing.
It is a pretty cool thing. Yeah.
And 32,000.
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
You're just getting a tag on a walkie-talkie, really. So
I know, but it is a piece of history of Twin Peaks.
Yes, true.
Unless this is from On the Air.
Oh, wow, that's a possibility, right?
Yeah. All right. What do you think about the 35 millimeter print of Eraserhead, 52,000?
Well, given the way the numbers were going, I thought this would go even higher.
Yeah.
But I can understand. I mean, the Ronnie Rocket with annotations and the Firewalk with Me with annotations. I mean, that's Lynch writing or commenting in some way, and this is just a copy of the film, his personal copy. So,
but it's a personal copy.
That's right? True. Yes, yes, and there's a lot of money. I wouldn't have been surprised if it had gone higher.
Wouldn't it be funny if there was a secret compartment and it had the deleted scenes?
Oh, in Eraserhead? Oh,
yeah.
Well, that would have been pretty amazing. Yeah, a lot of this Eraserhead stuff.
Like 10 VHSs for 7,800. Dang.
Man, I don't know.
You know what? I think what happened with some of these items is that this FOMO thing happened. People were feeling like this is David Lynch. This is my one and only time to own something he had. And some of these things just, became like a snowball going down the hill.
I'm sure that's the case. Indeed.
But it's fun to watch.
Hey, I just want to briefly say, I see someone named Dustin Schaefer said they were reading my book, Ominous Whoosh, and liking it very much. And I want to say thank you for buying the book to Dustin.
It's a fantastic book. And, but you know that because you get tweeted at or posted at almost every day about people loving it. So
occasionally, not quite often, but,
all right. Yeah. Well, I've seen it often. So
well, I'm glad. Good.
Okay. So $7,800 for rustic log stools.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think it's cool because some of these things he made, right? This isn't just stuff he just was given. I mean, obviously he was given.
Some of it, I mean, homemade wheeled cabinet, I guess he made. Some of the other stuff is not.
I mean,
But
his shop vacuum went for nearly 5,000. So just something he used to clean up his shop.
yeah, yep, pretty crazy, pretty crazy.
All right.
It's interesting too, just as a comment on watching the auction. It was interesting the way these lots were spread out. So you would get into what I consider maybe a dull phase where you're getting a lot of woodworking equipment, right? And it's kind of like, and then you'd get hit with memorabilia and scripts and some stuff that juices it up, and then that kind of drifts away. And so they were, I think they were deliberately designing the auction to sort of keep people tuning in to find out, what's going on with these pieces. And so it was, I think, rather clever the way they did that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I feel like we've seen a lot of the auctions, so we can probably move on to.
Yeah. I mean, I only heard a rumor that the total roughly was $6 million.
Only.
So that's some good money, and congratulations to everyone. I did not get anything. I didn't even bid on anything. I had planned to bid. I thought 3 weeks ago when the items came up, I thought, I'll bid today would be the day. But by, I think, even a week in, I knew, okay, it's out of my range, and I'm not going to be able to bid on anything. So then it just became a spectator sport. Just want to watch and see what happens.
Yeah. I wanted to get. I just remembered to show you this. I thought this was a stunning image that was sent to us, and I wanted to kind of get your feeling when you saw this image posted on my social media. Blue Velvet being shown at the Hollywood Forever Cemetery with that backdrop.
Yeah, that's a really nice picture, and the
amount of people there, I mean, and with the sky and the trees, I thought it was absolutely stunning.
It's a really neat shot. I don't know if I told you last time we talked. My sister just so happened to be in LA the day after this, and she went to the cemetery and sent me a picture of all the items that were at the gravesite. And she was really surprised at how much was there. And I said, well, they just had a Blue Velvet screening, and there was a big group of people there. So,
yeah, I want to go. Haven't been yet. I need to probably get there as early as possible before all the items start appearing, so I can at least see the gravestone, because it's once the flowers and all the memorabilia starts coming in every day, you can't even get to it. You have to stand from the road and kind of glance over. So but yeah, this image was sent to us, and I was like, wow.
Yeah, it's a great shot.
Yeah. Really. So so thank you, Dana, for sending that picture, and really appreciate it. Okay, so there's a few news items we need to hit.
Okay.
All right. First up, Kyle MacLachlan went to the BFI and did a little introduction before the 35 millimeter print of the pilot. I wasn't sure if they showed the pilot or the whole international pilot. Did you know which one they showed?
I don't know the answer to that. I'm going to guess it was just the pilot, but I don't know.
Okay.
And the reason why I say that is I think when that pilot was screened for, I don't remember, in 1990, they did like a cast and crew screening, and they had DGA, maybe directors. I don't remember. It was just the pilot. It was 35 millimeter.
Right. But they did a talk afterwards, and BFI said next year they're going to be doing a huge Lynch retrospective. Kind of got the vibe of what the Music Box kind of did. They're going to show all the films. They're going to show all the weather reports,
Yeah.
which is like, I think over 100 of them. But you and I have done a few videos lately, and especially after Lynch's passing. And I said to you, and you agreed that that his passing is basically going to just open the floodgates, and it's going to, now the conversation is really going to start going. And I kind of said that just to kind of put it out there in the world because of what I was seeing, you know, everybody posting on social media about how much they loved him and how they miss him. And now I'm really seeing it. Like almost every week, I'm seeing some theater company either showing retrospectives or doing talks or discussions. And I, to me, it just feels really exciting to see all this interest coming back when, I don't know. I mean, how do you feel about this? I mean, obviously, I'm sure you're thrilled, but like, it's unbelievable to see so much interest in David's work now.
Yeah, I think it's great. I think you're right. I think not only have we seen quite a bit, but there's probably bigger projects in the works. I don't know of anything. So, I mean, other than what's public, we do know that there's going to be the cast going around to various cities and doing live events and meeting fans. But Lynch related, that's Twin Peaks related. Lynch related retrospectives. Yeah, the one that they have described in London, I think it's in London, is sounds like the Music Box one that was in Chicago back in April, where they showed all the films and the short films and lots of other goodies. I think it'd be great. Great to get some stuff done, and I wouldn't be surprised we see it in other European cities and we see it again here in the United States. And I think there's Lynch. I think there's books probably coming. I'm sure there's books being written now. And we've heard Jennifer Lynch say that she hopes that Unrecorded Night is going to be published and made available for fans, which, I mean, I'll be having that the first day it comes out, if not earlier, if I get an advanced reading copy of it. But yeah, great stuff.
We've been floating that out for a while.
We have.
Publish, please, just at least publish it so people can see it. Yeah, I think this is just tremendously exciting. And it used to be, if you were a Lynch fan, you could kind of say, oh, I can't wait to go to this event. Now there's so many that like now you have to just pick and choose, whatever one is closest to you.
I will say that the classic event, which is Twin Peaks Days, used to be the Twin Peaks Festival up in Snoqualmie. The next one will be next February, around the weekend of February 24th. I'm going to do everything I can to be there. And I always look forward to that event. And I hope we see some new fans there too. It is so worth going to. It is a long ways for a lot of people, but I do see someone just commented and said, do you have any advice for going to see the Palmers, Tea with the Palmers?
He's going to the Mary Reber, Ray Wise, Cheryl Lee event.
Just being in the house is one of the greatest experiences I've ever had as a Twin Peaks fan. I can't quite imagine what it would be like to be there with cast members. I would say just absorb it all, enjoy the moment. Just enjoy the experience.
It is a little overwhelming the first time you pull up outside.
Don't treat the actors as if they're the characters. They definitely are not. That would be the only thing I would say.
I don't think they're going to be recreating the wash your hands scene.
Yeah, we don't want that.
But yeah, it's now you haven't been contacted yet about the BFI show, right? Because you've been going to a lot of these shows.
Yeah, I mean, I went to the Dallas one because I live in Dallas, and I went to the Chicago one because I had Daniel Knox, who basically designed that entire production, asked me. I kind of checked with him and said, hey, I'd love to talk about Mulholland Drive, and he was open to that. Scott was there, Scott Ryan. No one has asked me to go to the BFI one. I obviously would be honored if they wanted me there, but
well, like this show does, John, it kind of puts it out into the universe. So
yeah, I mean, anyway, I think I could contribute. I'd be happy to do so, but there's other great people out there who can do as much, if not a great deal more than I can. So
Yeah, I got excited when I saw that because obviously Lindsay's event, the Gathering of Angels, is coming up,
yes.
and in the same area, and so that's just really exciting. And to see the lineup of people that she's putting together for that event is unbelievable. I mean, getting cast members from the Elephant Man to come, that's incredible.
And I went to one of her events. I think it was the 2018 Twin Peaks UK event, and she did a wonderful job. She is a great person. I got to visit with her briefly. She's real passionate about Twin Peaks, and her events were just a great experience. So I assume the new one this September will be equally good.
Yeah, I mean, she wrote a cookbook, right?
She
About
did.
Twin Peaks.
She did. Yes, she
So,
did. Yep.
so, all right, now I'm kind of getting closer to the big news here. Sabrina Serlin came out today in an article, and it was an article where they talked to Dean Hurley and Mark Frost and Dan Ashbrook, and they were kind of all saying different things about working with David. I was kind of confused by the article because I wasn't sure if the interviewer had made a mistake or if the person talking had made a mistake. But Dana says that it was him, Cheryl Lee, and Machen Amick in the drug scene in Fire Walk with Me Out in the Woods. And I was like,
a mistake. Well, unless Machen happened to be,
off camera,
just there visiting the set. I don't know. I know some actors would do that. This was shot at night in the cold. Well, it wasn't that cold.
He said it was 3:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
Now, if you think about a Lolly Park at 3:30 in the morning,
yeah,
it's gotta be cold.
It's going to be chilly even in September or August. I think it's a mistake.
Yeah. All right, but what's not a mistake is Sabrina Serlin at the end says she believes that the script for Unrecorded Night is the best thing that David Lynch has ever worked on. And I know there is, hyperbole out there whenever something is not realized to say this was going to be amazing. That being said, we are huge fans of David Lynch. We know what the man is capable of. Now it just makes me want to read the script even more.
Yeah, I definitely want to read the script. That is something I think would be really exciting if we. I think it's going to happen, but it may be a while. It's interesting. Obviously she's close to the project and she's going to say nice things about it. But at the same time, I think Lynch had a good experience making The Return, which was 18 hours long. He did say in interviews recently. I think we saw some comments about maybe it was Sabrina. Who, I think it was Jennifer Lynch, who said that he really liked getting these long stories, and he wanted to tell these long stories. So I think our Unrecorded Night was supposed to be 13 hours.
I think, was it her or was it the Peter Deming article that dropped?
Could have been Peter Deming. There've been a lot coming out, and I read it, and I can't remember who said it. But anyway, yeah, it's been recent, and I can imagine that Lynch felt like, okay, now that I've done it once, I really see some things I could do that I didn't necessarily know until I was in the middle of The Return. And it's quite possible that he had something new to show us. Taking advantage. What Lynch did over and over and over again was he took advantage of the medium. He always liked to try new media. He wanted to get in and experiment with digital video, and he wanted to do cartoons and animation, and he painted, videos and music. He was fascinated by the potential for every new medium. And I think television is not a new medium, but the idea of these long, long stories was sort of a new thing that he might have been able to take advantage of that medium. So when she says it was the greatest thing, it's quite possible it was some new way of telling a story. So I'm excited about just the thought of it, and hopefully we'll see did she sort of imply that it might, I don't want to read too much into it, that it might be more than just the script that we see? That she said whatever form it takes. Didn't she say something like that in the
I believe so. I'm not.
I don't have it in front of me.
I don't really. I'm not really reading too much into that.
Yeah, I'm not going to either. Absolutely not. And I think it's terrible if we start a rumor or get people thinking that because really, ideally, it's to see the scripts. And so I'm sure Lynch would have totally blown us away. He did with The Return. He did every time he did something.
Yeah, I was going to say, poor David and Mark in 1990, because Twin Peaks is a huge success. But one of the biggest problems is that they didn't air reruns until they re-aired it in the summertime. And then there was no TiVo, there was no buying it digitally. I think if we had today's technology then, I don't think the drop off for the viewership would have happened quite as steep, because people would have been able to catch up on Saturday or I say Saturday. It was aired on Saturday for a portion of its time, but people would have caught up on Sunday or Monday or whatever, and they would have gotten those numbers.
Right.
So it's it was just a thing of its time, but like,
it was a thing of its time. You're absolutely right. The way television was presented to us back then is you missed it. Unless you knew somebody who recorded it, you were out of luck. It was rerun. And even if you missed the rerun, then you were in trouble. There are places where it was preempted. I know the Bob Kills Maddie episode, or no, maybe it was the Reveal episode, was preempted in a Vermont market because there was a snowstorm or something, but whatever. The other thing that people forget too is that Twin Peaks was just before a fairly major technological change, and that was a social media, which in its primitive days back then in the early 90s was just Usenet groups. And the show that followed that took advantage of that really, truly, I think, benefited from it was The X-Files. The X-Files came along just as that kind of interaction was happening online. The X-Files itself acknowledged it by showing some fan names in a file that they were pulling from Usenet. Twin Peaks just missed the window on that. I think if there had been a year difference or 2 years difference, the fan interest in it might have kept it alive in a way that it just didn't have in 1990.
I also think that something I saw mid 2000s, or I guess like closer to 2010, but one thing that ABC did with Lost, which I thought was brilliant, was that the night that an episode aired, a new episode aired, they played the previous episode before it with annotations.
Yeah.
And I thought,
right,
oh my God, can you imagine if Twin Peaks had the 9 to 11 slot on Saturday nights when it aired then, and just played the previous episode, but said, look for this, look at that. And having Lynch and Frost doing clues that weren't so on the nose, but maybe made you go to a thesaurus or almanac or something and look stuff up.
Yeah. And home video, Lost, it took it, had the advantage of DVD sets coming out. Every year the season would come out in a big box set. So even if you didn't watch it on network, when it aired, you could still watch it.
Well, I mean, what World Vision did put out at least season 1 without the
but this was concurrent with the show, with Lost
Right.
coming out, right? I mean, we get like season 3 in a box set before season 4 came out, or just whatever. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. It got you prepped and ready.
It did, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's funny. I remember reading at the time that Kyle MacLachlan signed a 5-year deal with ABC for Twin Peaks, right? And and I'm not sure about the other cast members, but I know that he said he did. It just makes me think, can you imagine 1995 and Twin Peaks still on the air? It seems like a different world.
Yeah. Mark Frost has a great quote. I don't know if it was when we interviewed him in Wrapped in Plastic or if it was somewhere else, but he said he was sort of glad it died before it had a chance to wither. He was aware of what happens to television over time, that it, at a certain point, it starts to become a pale reflection of itself. I don't know what would have happened if it had gone on. Obviously, if it could have continued, it would have been of high quality, I think. Otherwise, people wouldn't have been tuning into it. Who knows?
Yeah. But it just makes me think about what season 5 of Twin
Yeah.
Peaks would have been.
Oh, yeah. Right.
All right. So the big news is this. As you said, there's been a lot of stories and internet news dropping, and a lot of it is coming from Mark Frost, who's just on a whirlwind of interviews lately. And he dropped, I think it was last week, that without saying anything definitively, because he's in the middle of other things right now, but he is not opposed to exploring another work of Twin Peaks as most likely a book. And he didn't say it definitively, but he said, he would think about it, but it's not out of the realm of a possibility. And I'm assuming this is what you meant by we have other things to discuss. So what was your view? Because I know we've had this discussion before where I said, this is before Lynch passed away, where I said to you, do you think Twin Peaks is over? And you said, I think you said, I may be misquoting you, I believe Frost believes he is, David is. But then news came out that they were floating the idea of maybe another thing in having to do with Twin Peaks. So, okay, so Frost may be exploring Twin Peaks in a later date still, and there was a possibility of something, whether it be the Carrie Page movie or season 4 or whatever. What was your, you're the wrapped in plastic guy, and what's your take?
Okay, yeah, sure. I think I don't believe that Lynch and Frost were thinking of a season 4. I think they were done with the story they wanted to tell. Now, of course, any creative group or any creative person or team, has ways back into their work. I mean, did they talk about, well, this could be something we could explore in another project, like maybe another prequel or maybe a different part of that same Twin Peaks world or whatever. I can't imagine they didn't say, talk about that. I don't think that was a major project. It took a lot out of both of them. It took a lot out of the cast. It was huge. I can't imagine they were thinking of doing something similar, something that size again. So could they have been thinking? I always thought there was a chance there might be another movie, like it was the series and Fire Walk with Me, and then the series and another movie. But again, I think, I don't know if we ever would have seen anything after part 18. I really believe that certainly in Lynch's mind, that was sort of a definitive ending. It went dark and it was over. That doesn't mean there isn't room in the world for other work. I think Frost, if he were to write a book, I would celebrate that. I think that would be the greatest, thing that a book that took place, maybe before the return or in the time frame between season 2 and the return, or somewhere else in the world, a case that Cooper, investigated before he got to Twin Peaks.
If anything, season 3 or the limited series or the return, whatever you want to call it, whatever it showed, it did show that Twin Peaks was now worldwide. So the story could go anywhere.
Yes, of course. Yes, absolutely. And so the thing, of course, too, is, we got to be very practical about this in terms of a series. There's a lot of actors that just aren't available anymore, unfortunately. You could recast, which they were not wanting to do. They could have recast Harry Truman. They didn't. They brought in the brother. So if you're going to tell stories with those same characters, it's tricky to recast unless it's much younger versions of them. But then, of course, we've seen the much younger versions of them because we have the original series. So very tricky. How they would assemble a cast, that seems to me to be the real sticking point, because I think a lot of the cast members either probably, I think there's some cast members who probably wouldn't want to return, that they feel like they were done with it too. And then again, as I said, there's a lot of cast members that just unfortunately are not available.
I always thought that
doesn't mean we could have some little, offshoot. So
right. I always thought that Lynch and Frost would have gotten together to do a sort of Carrie Page Fire Walk with Me movie that showed us her years in Odessa or something like that. Something that was, I mean, just to bookend it, like with the Fire Walk with Me, right? Or, maybe Jennifer Lynch writes the Carrie Page Diary to bookend her other book. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think Lynch.
These are all obvious. These are all obvious things I'm floating out. I'm just saying that, like, if Frost wants to dabble in this, I saw a lot of pushback saying no. I'm fine with it. I think it would be fun.
I certainly a book I embrace. A television series. First of all, I just think it's so difficult to make that happen. Now, that doesn't mean they couldn't do an offshoot where we have let's say we go back 30 years before Twin Peaks took place. So we're in the 1950s Twin Peaks, and we see younger versions of Harry and Hank and Frank and Big Ed, and we see, we could recast then, and we see them involved in something in the Twin Peaks, just in that little milieu. That's that little tiny town. It's doable. The larger mythology, I'd be hesitant to see it. I mean, I think Lynch is a vital component, as Frost is. I think they both are vital. So I'm wary of that. Let me just put it that way.
I know the story that people want to see, which is the Gordon Cole, Philip Jeffries first Blue Rose case, but I don't know how you can recast David Lynch and David Bowie. That's kind of a tall order.
And with the exception of Donna in Fire Walk with Me, I don't think anybody else was ever. Well, maybe there's some small, tiny. I don't remember. They didn't recast roles, right? I mean, they were very aware of. They wanted to honor their original actors as much as possible, and so when David Bowie is gone, I think they had hoped they were going to bring in the Philip Jeffries character, David Bowie playing that character.
Right.
Then he can't do it. The same is true with Michael J. Anderson. He did not want to do it, and so instead of recasting them, they just create these sort of new evolved versions of them.
Well, they did recast the voice.
They did. I'm not quite sure.
And that was by David Bowie's insistence.
Oh, see, okay. Well, then that's a good reason.
He didn't believe he did the accent well.
Okay. Yes, I heard that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was so he requested, even if he had been in it, he would be overdubbed.
Yeah, and I know, for example, Miguel Ferrer. I think Sabrina shared this story at a Twin Peaks festival that he was unable to go travel on to locations, and so he could only shoot his parts in LA. And they made every effort to move that production to accommodate him, because Albert Rosenfeld is Miguel Ferrer. You don't recast, and so anyway. I'm getting up on my soapbox, I guess. So I just don't see recasting unless you're going to play, 30 years earlier, Twin Peaks in the 1950s, or maybe Frank Truman's parents or something.
Who says it has to do with any of these characters? I mean, we could just do other people in this world.
Yes, we could. Yes, we could.
Brand new characters, and I don't think anybody would have a problem with that if it was just not touching the known characters, but just Frost going into other territory, but just in the world. I mean, I'm up for whatever Frost decides to do, because I don't think he's going to just haphazardly just do something stupid.
No, I think it would be very, very carefully, designed and thought through. And I think he would try to be very careful about tinkering with what he and Lynch have already accomplished. And you don't, if you've got a work of art and it's done, unless you're George Lucas, you kind of want to just sort of leave it. And that, we'll say you kind of want to leave it there. And Lynch was opposed to any, going back in and tinkering with the works. He with few minor exceptions, he was happy with the finished products. So anyway.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I saw that news and I was thinking, oh my, what does John think about this? Because
Yeah.
it kind of just sent shockwaves through. And I thought to myself, I kind of figured this was going to happen at some point. That somebody would just say, you never can say no.
Well,
not saying yes, but just you can't say no.
and I think Frost is well suited to. And again, I don't know. Maybe they're going to do it somehow. They're going to do a television show. Well, I think that's a much higher bar for them to get over, to get that in. And if Frost decides he's going to write a book, then he's going to write a book and it's going to get published. It's going to happen, and it's going to be fewer barriers. A television series has got a lot of barriers to overcome. You got to, there's obviously cast and there's writers, and then you got to find someone who's going to show it. And I don't know how viable Twin Peaks is to some of these, especially in the environment we're in now, where I don't think the streamers are taking as many chances as they used to, with few exceptions. Maybe Frost goes and goes, Severance is a big deal. It's working. Everyone loves it. I can deliver that. And he could. So, and then maybe he overcomes those barriers and he gets it. But if Frost sits down right now and he wants to write a book, man, I'll tell you what, I don't see anything stopping that from happening. And I think he's a really good writer. And I think there's a lot of room there for him to produce something. Maybe both. He writes the book and then they make it a show.
He adapts his own book. Yeah, I got very excited by the news just because it electrified the sort of Twin Peaks energy on the social media, and
Sure.
I was like, cool. Let's see what happens. I'm obviously a big fan, and I know that he has never done anything, at least in my opinion, my estimation, solely for the dollar. He seems like a man of high integrity. So
yeah, he's just a very skilled storyteller, and
he's also well versed with the area I live in, because there's a lot of Pebble Beach jokes in his work, and with his golfing, and obviously with Dr. Jacoby and Twin Peaks and stuff like that. So
yeah,
for sure.
So
kind of a crazy week, and I don't know. What's going on with you? What are you working on?
I don't have anything I'm working on. There is, I won't talk about it publicly yet, but potentially something fairly significant. But I don't know. It might not happen. But I hope it does. And if it does, I'll be busy again. Other than that, I'm just getting hit by all the news that comes on as you are. It seems every day there's some new article, or I think this rebroadcast of Twin Peaks on the movie, brought out a lot of people talking about it.
I've never heard of movie. Is this a European?
I think so, and I think I haven't gone to look for it, but on my
it drops on Mubi. All of a sudden, there's like 45 articles from all these different outlets talking about it.
They're promoting it.
Oh, of course. Yeah. But what I'm saying is, I didn't even know what Mubi was, and all of a sudden, all these outlets are talking about it, and it's like, okay, well, this feels to me like when the Gold Box came out, or when it first dropped on Netflix, and now everybody's rediscovering it. And I just did a discussion with someone the other day about the missing pieces. I'm currently editing it. And she was telling me that she didn't even see the series until 2019. So when she went into it, everything was there, right? The missing pieces, the books. So she could just do everything at once. And I thought, that's kind of an amazing thing to just have everything at your disposal, as opposed to waiting 25 years, then a book, then the series, then another book.
Right. Yeah, I can't put myself in what it must be like for someone. Let's say somebody's just 20 years old, and they're like, suddenly they're like, I'm going to watch Twin Peaks, and then there's all this stuff, and there's no, I mean, obviously, you start at the pilot and you could kind of know which way to navigate through it, but it's all there. I mean, it's like you can do it very quickly, and we had to do it, over, well, I mean, 30 years. So I'm happy I had that experience. I will say I'm happy it happened the way it did for me, because it just resonates in my life so strongly. And but I mean, hey, I'm glad it's there for new audiences for sure.
I mean, listen, even if you have 3 seasons and a movie and some books to go through, that's nothing compared to when I open up my X-Files collection and see I have 245 episodes to get through.
Yeah, right. It's funny. I was talking to Colin, who does Cream Corn in the Universe, a couple of days ago, and he just happened to. I'm going to share his anecdote real quick because I thought it was really interesting. He when he first found Twin Peaks, he started watching it on TV. He was streaming, and he'd heard about it. He started watching it, and he didn't know there was a movie. Like I think he finished watching Twin Peaks, and then he was like, "I wonder what else David Lynch has done." And he types in, he goes, "There's a Twin Peaks movie." He didn't even know that it existed, and so
this was after season 3. He didn't
know. No. This is after season 2. He was watching Twin Peaks, the original series, without any knowledge that there was a film. Which that's how we did it, because we didn't know there was going to be a film.
Right.
So I thought that was really interesting. And people are just, it can be like an avalanche of stuff that can come at you.
Yeah.
So,
all right, I have a question for you before we wrap this up.
Yeah.
Because it's been a long time, so you can maybe, if you had some inside info, you can drop it here. When Fire Walk With Me, I didn't find out about Fire Walk With Me being made until I would say August, September, when like TV Guide dropped this thing.
Of
talking
91,
about
right?
91, them talking about the script. They got a copy of the script, and then Film Threat got a copy of the script. I'm thinking, is David Lynch just hanging out Fire Walk With Me scripts wherever he goes? Like, this is insane. Okay, so my question to you is this. How early did you know that there was going to be a Fire Walk With Me movie? And did you get a copy of the script prior to seeing the film?
I'm trying to remember. Yes, around the same time you did.
Okay.
Maybe a little earlier. I might have had somebody, I don't remember. We weren't doing Wrapped in Plastic then. So I'd only just met Craig.
Okay.
I think I met Craig in 91. So we were hoping to get Wrapped in Plastic out in 91 before the film. And it took us a year for various reasons. So I knew about it, and I think I had the script. I'm pretty sure I had the script.
I didn't get the script until well after the film came out. I think it was around 93, 94. You could send away through a script company, and they would mail it to you.
Yeah, but when I say that, if I had the script, I didn't read it because I know when I saw Fire Walk With Me the first time, I did not know what was going to happen. I remember the surprise of so much of it to me. I remember the owl cave ring and the symbol,
right?
And that was probably described in the script. No, I might have had the script. I do not know. I know for sure I saw the film cold. I did not, other than what had leaked in, like you say, TV Guide and other places were saying, it's hyper violent, which I was like, well,
I kind of expected that, considering where the story was going to go, right?
I was worried about, this is a long time ago now. I'm on the record of not being a huge Wild at Heart fan. Part of why I don't like Wild at Heart is because I think to me, I don't like the violence in it. Even though Lynch's films are violent, and I think I was worried a lot about it being, off-puttingly violent. And I don't think it is. I don't think Fire Walk With Me is. There's a lot of stuff in there that's hard to take, but I don't equate it with Wild at Heart violence.
Right. Air Pressure here in the chat says, I actually watched seasons 1 to 3 without having seen the movie. And then I realized there was a movie, and that was my ending. Now,
wow. Okay.
The reason I wanted to read that is because Josh has told me and I'm sure he's discussed this with you, that he feels that the final scene in Fire Walk with Me is the ending of Twin Peaks past season 3. What do you think about that?
I do not think that. I do not think that. And I think Lynch has hinted that it is not. And not only in interviews, but in Between Two Worlds, which if Air Pressure has not seen that, I would recommend watching the very short piece that Lynch did where Lynch himself interviews the Palmer family. Leland Palmer, who's dead, and Laura Palmer, who's dead, and Sarah Palmer, who's alive. And there are hints in that Laura's journey is only partially over at the end of Fire Walk with Me. And Lynch does say in an interview somewhere he saw new potential in the ending of Fire Walk with Me when he was moving on to new Twin Peaks. That's my take on it, and I've written a book that that kind of explains why I think it works better that way. But there's a lot of people, including I think Cheryl Lee, who thinks, that's probably the ending.
It's interesting you bring up the Between Two Worlds thing, because I just posted about that on social media. I retweeted somebody or reposted it. I know they say it differently on Bluesky, but I find it interesting that there were two parts. There was the Between Two Worlds where David Lynch interviews the Palmer family, and then it moved over into David Lynch talking with the actors.
Yes. Yep.
But the actor section gets carried over onto the Criterion disc, but the Between Two Worlds section is on the Blu-ray and the Z-A box set. I found that interesting that the Between Two Worlds aspect did not get poured over. And the only way I can think of it is it has more to do with season 3 than Fire Walk with Me.
Yeah, I think, I do think that's canon. I think that's Lynch,
he wrote it.
From what I understand, he wrote it, and he was also talking to the actors about it. And he knew at that point that they were going to make the return and basically where it was going to go. So I really think there are clues there. It's a really important piece. It's sort of a tiny little connective tissue between Fire Walk with Me and the return. And so I do think it's critical. I will say though, to the person who said they watched it all and then they watched the film, I also think that the return was designed with the possibility that you might not have watched anything before the return, that they try to give you enough background with actual flashback images and scenes and dialogue to kind of fill you in on the crucial pieces that you need if you have not seen the other Twin Peaks. So anyway.
Yeah, this has been really great, John. Thank you for coming on here and talking about all this.
Absolutely.
It seems like you're gonna have to come on more often if more and more news keeps dropping.
Yeah, it's great. I'm happy there's news. I mean, it helps me sell books, a little tiny bit, not a lot, but the more people are talking about Twin Peaks, the more people seek out other, avenues to learn about it. And I've got some stuff out there. So
absolutely. And every time there's a spike in Twin Peaks news, obviously this channel gets more subs and Queen of Hearts gets more views. So
very good. Absolutely.
It's win-win for everybody.
Everybody wins. Yeah.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate it. Make sure to follow John on social media, Bluesky especially, and buy his books, Omnis Whoosh and the
Essential Wrapped in Plastic.
And the Mulholland Drive book. What's it called?
Devious Dreams.
Devious Dreams.
Yeah,
that's right. Check
it out.
If
you want to know about Mulholland Drive, that's the book for you.
Yeah, and the Omnis Whoosh one is great, and the Essential Wrapped in just 3 for 3. Just buy them as a package. They're fantastic.
That's great. Thank you.
All right, guys. See you soon. Take it easy. Have a wonderful night. Take care. Bye-bye.